morning sky above New York changed forever when the first ship appeared. It was not like anything humans had ever seen. The vessel was made of what looked like crystal and metal mixed together. It was huge, easily the size of Manhattan, and it floated silently above the city without making any sound. Within hours, more ships appeared over London, Tokyo, Moscow, and every major city on Earth. The world stopped. Traffic came to a halt as people stepped out of their cars to stare at the sky. News channels went crazy trying to explain what was happening. Social media exploded with pictures and videos. Then the ships began to speak. Every television, radio, computer, and phone on Earth received the same message at the same time. The voice was calm and gentle, speaking in every language perfectly. People of Earth, do not be afraid. We come in peace. We are the Vialthani Empire, and we wish to meet with your leaders. The United Nations building in New York had never been so busy. World leaders flew in from every country. Military forces were put on high alert, but the alien ships did nothing except float peacefully in the sky. 3 days after their arrival, the aliens finally came down to meet humanity. Their shuttle was small compared to the massive ships above, but it still made people gasp when it landed softly in Central Park. The craft opened without any sound, and 3 beings stepped out. They were tall, much taller than humans, with skin that seemed to glow softly. Their bodies were thin and graceful, and they had large eyes that seemed to see everything. The one in front wore robes that moved like water and had symbols that glowed gently on the fabric. "I am Ambassador Thylex," the being said as it walked into the United Nations building. Its voice was the same calm tone they had heard on the broadcasts. "I speak for the Vialthani Empire, protectors of 17 star systems and 43 worlds." The assembly hall was packed. Every world leader was there, along with scientists, military officers, and translators. General Kang Dae-ho sat with the Korean delegation, his face showing no emotion. Admiral Park So-jin was nearby with the naval representatives taking careful notes. Ambassador Thylex stood at the podium and began to speak. "Your world is beautiful," it said, looking around the room with those large, knowing eyes. "Your species has grown quickly. In just a few thousand years, you have gone from living in caves to traveling in space. This is unusual. This is special. This is also dangerous." The alien paused, letting its words sink in. "You are not alone in this galaxy. There are many species, many empires, many threats. Some hunt worlds like yours. They look for species that are growing fast but are not yet strong enough to defend themselves. They destroy these worlds or take them as slaves." A chill went through the room. President Anderson of the United States leaned forward. "What kind of threats?" "The Chromath swarm travels from system to system, eating everything in their path," Thylex explained. "Their ships are alive, grown instead of built. They have consumed hundreds of worlds. The Nexari raiders take what they want and destroy the rest. They think younger species like yours are good for nothing except work and food." Many delegates looked scared. Some whispered to each other in worried voices, but in the back of the room, Dr. Lee Byung-ho, Earth's leading expert on alien life, sat quietly with a small smile on his face. Next to him, Commander Yoon Nari of the newly created Earth Defense Initiative wrote something in her notebook and showed it to him. It said, "Really?" Ambassador Thylex continued. "These threats are coming to this part of the galaxy. Our scouts have detected Chromath ships moving this way. They will arrive within 5 of your years, maybe less. When they come, your current weapons will not stop them. Your ships are too slow. Your defenses are too weak." The room fell silent. The alien's words were terrifying, but its voice remained calm and gentle. "This is why we offer you protection," Thylex said, spreading its arms wide. "Join the Vialthani Protectorate. Let us shield your world from the darkness between the stars. We will place defense stations around your planet. We will share some of our knowledge to help you grow safely. We will teach you about the galaxy and keep you safe from those who would harm you." Most of the world leaders looked relieved. The offer seemed too good to be true. Protection from advanced aliens who seemed kind and peaceful? Many delegates began nodding and whispering excitedly to each other. "What do you want in return?" asked President Chen of China. "Very little," Thylex replied. "We ask only that you allow us to guide your development. Some technologies are dangerous if discovered too early. Some weapons can destroy the very people who make them. We will help you avoid these mistakes. We will be your teachers and your guardians." General Kang Dae-ho raised his hand. "You say you protect 43 worlds. What happened to the species that refused your protection?" For just a moment, Thylax hesitated. Some learned to protect themselves, others were not so fortunate when the real threats arrived. Dr. Lee Byung-ho wrote something else in his notebook and passed it to Commander Yoon Na-ri. She read it and had to hide her smile behind her hand. The note said, 43 worlds accepted protection. How many refused? Why won't it say? The meeting continued for hours. The aliens answered questions patiently and showed holographic images of their technology. They demonstrated medical devices that could heal wounds in minutes. They showed energy systems that could power entire cities without pollution. They displayed defensive weapons that could stop asteroids or enemy ships. By the end of the day, most world leaders were convinced. The vote was almost unanimous. Earth would accept protection from the Valthani Empire. But that night, in a small, secure room deep under the Pentagon, a different meeting was taking place. General Kang Dae-ho was there, along with Admiral Park So-jin, Dr. Lee Byung-ho, Commander Yoon Na-ri, and military leaders from 12 other countries. They're afraid of something, Dr. Lee said quietly. Did you see how Thylax acted when asked about the species that refused protection? And why offer to protect a primitive world unless there's something in it for them? Commander Yoon Na-ri pulled out a tablet showing analysis of the alien ships. Their technology is advanced, but not impossibly so. And they're being very careful about what they share with us. Admiral Park So-jin looked around the room. So what do we do? General Kang Dae-ho smiled the same quiet smile that was spreading through military bases around the world. We say thank you for the protection. We smile and nod and act grateful, and then we get ready for whatever's really coming. Outside, the crystal ships continued to float peacefully in Earth's sky, their gentle glow giving comfort to billions of humans below. But in hidden rooms around the world, Earth's defenders were already beginning to plan for a very different kind of future. 6 months had passed since the Valthani ships first appeared in Earth's sky. The world had changed in ways that seemed like magic. Diseases that had killed millions were now cured with simple injections. Power plants that once burned coal and oil were replaced with clean energy devices that the aliens had shared. Hunger was ending as new farming techniques produced more food than ever before. Most people loved their new alien protectors. The Valthani had built beautiful orbital stations around Earth that sparkled like stars during the day. They said these stations would protect the planet from any attack. Many humans worked on these stations now, learning alien technology and helping to keep Earth safe. Captain Kim Min-ho of the Earth Defense Initiative was one of those humans working in space. His job was to patrol the area around Earth and report on any unusual activity. The Valthani had given him a small ship with sensors far better than anything humans had built before. They said it was to help him do his job better. But Kim Min-ho was starting to notice strange things. Every time human military ships moved anywhere in space, the Valthani knew about it immediately. When he asked how they knew, they smiled and said their sensors were just very good. When Earth wanted to test new weapons, the aliens would politely suggest testing something else instead. It's for your own safety, Ambassador Thylax had explained when the military leaders asked about these restrictions. Some weapons are too dangerous for young species to handle safely. Down on Earth, Dr. Han Soo-jin was working in one of the new joint research centers where humans and Valthani scientists worked together. She was supposed to be learning about advanced computers, but every time she tried to work on quantum processing or artificial intelligence, her alien partners would guide her to different projects instead. These topics are very complex, they would say kindly. Perhaps we should focus on medical applications first. There will be time for other research later. Dr. Han had been a computer scientist for 20 years. She knew when someone was avoiding a topic. When she mentioned this to her supervisor, Director Choi Jae-sung, he just nodded and told her to be patient. But Director Choi was having his own suspicions. In his office late one night, he was looking at reports from research centers around the world. The pattern was the same everywhere. Humans were being taught about medicine, clean energy, and communication systems, but they were being steered away from weapons research, advanced materials, space travel improvements, and artificial intelligence. The next morning, Director Choi had a meeting with Lieutenant Colonel Bae Yoon-young, who was in charge of coordinating Earth's defense projects with the Valthani. She arrived at his office looking frustrated. They canceled another weapons test, she reported. The railgun project, the plasma research, and the new missile system. They said these weapons might accidentally hurt humans who weren't trained to use them properly. Director Choi leaned back in his chair. How many projects have they canceled or redirected now? 47. Bae Yun-young replied immediately. And they've suggested safer alternatives for every single one. Always something that can't be used as a weapon. That afternoon, Director Choi made several secure phone calls to military leaders around the world. He discovered that every country was experiencing the same thing. The aliens were very generous with helpful technology, but they seemed to have strong opinions about what humans should and should not be allowed to develop. Meanwhile, in a secret laboratory buried deep under a mountain in South Korea, Dr. Shin Woo-jin was working on a project that officially did not exist. The lab was built before the aliens arrived, and it was shielded so well that even the advanced Vialthani sensors could not detect it. Dr. Shin was studying pieces of alien technology that had been collected from the landing sites. The Vialthani had been very careful, but they had left behind small fragments when their ships landed. These pieces were being examined by scientists in hidden labs around the world. Interesting, Dr. Shin said to his assistant, Major Song Hye-jin, as they looked at the results of their latest tests. Their hull material is strong, but it has a very specific weakness. If you hit it with the right frequency of electromagnetic pulse, it becomes brittle. Major Song looked at the data on her screen, and their energy shields work by bending space around their ships. But the generators have to be cooled constantly, or they overheat and shut down. It's almost like they're showing us their weaknesses on purpose, Dr. Shin said quietly. Or maybe, Major Song replied with a small smile, they're so used to fighting primitive species that they've forgotten how to hide their weak points from someone who actually knows how to look. In space stations around Earth, Captain Kim Min-ho and other human patrol officers were making their own discoveries. They had noticed that the Vialthani defensive positions were arranged in a very specific pattern. The aliens claimed it was the most effective way to protect Earth from attack, but to trained military minds, it looked more like a way to control everything that came in or went out of Earth's space. We're not being protected, Captain Kim realized one day as he looked at the positioning of all the orbital stations. We're being surrounded. He sent a coded message to his commanders on Earth using an old human communication system that he was pretty sure the aliens were not monitoring. The message was simple. The fence is not keeping things out. The fence is keeping us in. Back on Earth, the message reached Commander Yoon Nari at Earth Defense Initiative headquarters. She had been collecting similar reports from other officers. She brought all of this information to a secret meeting with General Kang Dae-ho and the other military leaders who had been suspicious from the beginning. They're not protecting us, Commander Yoon said as she showed them the evidence. They're managing us. Every time we try to develop something that could actually defend our planet, they steer us away from it. Every time we try to build something that could threaten them, they find a reason why it's too dangerous. General Kang looked at the reports spread across the table. So what are they really doing here? Admiral Park So-jin, who had been quietly studying the aliens' behavior for months, spoke up. I think they're doing exactly what they said they'd do. They're protecting Earth from threats, but I don't think the threats they're most worried about come from outside. You mean us, said Dr. Lee Byung-ho. They're protecting the galaxy from us. The room fell silent as everyone understood what that meant. The aliens had not come to save Earth from dangerous enemies. They had come because Earth was becoming the dangerous enemy. So what do we do now? Asked Lieutenant Colonel Bae Yun-young. General Kang smiled the same quiet smile he had worn 6 months ago. We keep smiling and saying thank you. We keep acting like grateful children who need their protection. And we keep working on all those projects they don't want us to work on. But if they catch us, Commander Yoon started to say, they won't catch us. Dr. Shin Woo-jin's voice came through a secure communication link from his hidden lab. Because we're going to be very, very careful. And we're going to use everything we've learned about them to stay hidden. Over the next few weeks, the secret network grew. Scientists, military officers, engineers, and intelligence agents from every country began working together in hidden facilities around the world. They were careful never to meet in the same place twice. They communicated using old human codes that the aliens had never seen. They built their secret projects in places that the Vialthani sensors could not reach. To everyone else, it looked like Earth was happily accepting its role as a protected world. Humans worked alongside their alien guardians, learning what they were allowed to learn, and building what they were allowed to build. But deep underground and in hidden places, Earth's real defenses were beginning to take shape. The alarm started screaming at 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Captain Lim Dong-woo was on duty at the Deep Space Monitoring Station when the sensors detected something massive entering the solar system. He had been tracking asteroids and space debris for 2 years since the aliens arrived, but he had never seen anything like this. "Commander Yoon, you need to see this," he called over the communication system. His voice was tight with worry. The shapes appeared on the screens like nightmares. They were not built like ships. They looked like they had grown, twisted, and organic, covered in what looked like armor plates that moved and shifted. The largest one was 10 times bigger than the biggest Valthani vessel. There were dozens of them, moving through space in a formation that looked almost like a swarm of insects. Commander Yoon Nari arrived at the monitoring station within minutes, still putting on her uniform. She looked at the screens and felt her blood turn cold. "How many?" 67 ships, Captain Lim reported. "And they're accelerating toward the inner system. At their current speed, they'll reach Earth orbit in 18 hours. Send the alert to the Valthani stations," Commander Yoon ordered. "And wake up General Kang. Tell him the real war just started." High above Earth, the crystal spires of the Valthani defense stations began to glow brighter as their crews prepared for battle. Ambassador Thylex appeared on every screen on Earth within an hour, but this time the calm voice was strained with worry. "People of Earth, do not panic," Thylex announced, but anyone could hear the fear behind the words. "The Chromath swarm has arrived earlier than expected. Our defense fleet is moving to intercept them at the edge of your solar system. You will be safe. We have protected many worlds from threats like this. But in the secret command center buried beneath Seoul, General Kang Dai-ho was watching different screens that showed him information the aliens did not know humans had. Dr. Shin Woo-jin had spent months building hidden sensors throughout the solar system, disguised as mining equipment and research stations. "The Valthani are scared," Dr. Shin reported over the secure link. "Their ships are moving into defensive positions, but their energy signatures show stress patterns. Whatever those Chromath things are, they're not what the aliens expected." Admiral Park So-jin was coordinating with the secret network around the world. "All hidden facilities report ready," she announced. "Project Grin is standing by." "Not yet," General Kang said quietly. "Let's see what our protectors can actually do." The battle began 12 hours later, far beyond the orbit of Mars. The Valthani fleet was impressive. 200 sleek ships that moved like dancers through space. Their weapons created beautiful streams of energy that lit up the darkness. For the first few minutes, it looked like the aliens would easily defeat the Chromath. Then the organic ships began to adapt. Captain Lim watched in horror as the Chromath vessels started to change shape. When the Valthani fired energy weapons, parts of the enemy ships grew thicker armor. When they used projectile weapons, the Chromath ships developed what looked like shields made of living tissue. The bioships were learning from every attack and becoming stronger. "This is impossible," Lieutenant Colonel Bae Yun-young said as she watched the battle from her hidden post. "Those ships are evolving in real time." Worse, the Chromath were fighting back with weapons that seemed to target the Valthani technology directly. Streams of something that looked like living lightning reached out from the bioships and made the crystal vessels shake and crack. Several alien ships went dark and began drifting helplessly through space. Within 6 hours, the Valthani defense fleet was in full retreat. They fell back toward Earth, their formation broken and many ships badly damaged. The Chromath followed slowly, like predators who knew their prey had nowhere left to run. Ambassador Thylex appeared on the screens again, and this time the fear was obvious. The alien's glowing skin had dimmed, and its large eyes were wide with something that looked like panic. "The Chromath are more advanced than our intelligence reports indicated," Thylex admitted, the calm voice now shaking. "Their biotechnology has evolved beyond our ability to counter it effectively. We must begin immediate evacuation procedures." President Anderson leaned forward at his emergency podium. "Evacuation? You mean abandon Earth?" "It is the only way to save your species," Thylex replied. "We have transport ships that can carry millions of your people to safe worlds within our territory. The evacuation will take time, but we can save most of your population before the Chromath arrive." Around the world, panic began to spread. News channels showed massive crowds at airports and spaceports. People packed their belongings and said goodbye to their homes. Military forces prepared to help with the largest evacuation in human history. But in the hidden command centers, a very different conversation was taking place. Evacuation, General Kang said with that same quiet smile. After 8 months of studying their technology, learning their weaknesses, and preparing for exactly this moment, Colonel Park Jinnah in the Seoul bunker responded over the secure channel. Really? Dr. Oh Seung-ho, who had been reverse engineering Valthani technology in a secret lab in Japan, made his report. All analysis complete. We know how their ships work, how their weapons function, and most importantly, how to break them. We also have complete scans of the Chromath biovessels from the battle. Major Song Hye-jin added from her hidden facility. The factories are ready. All weapon systems have been tested. Project Grinned is fully operational. The Chromath fleet continued its slow approach toward Earth. Their bioships had grown even larger after consuming the wreckage of the Valthani vessels they had destroyed. Ahead of them, the surviving alien defense fleet took up desperate positions around Earth's moon, preparing for what they believed would be their final battle. That's when the Chromath sent their message directly to Earth. Completely ignoring the Valthani protectors, the transmission bypassed all the alien communication systems and spoke directly to human radio, television, and internet. The voice was harsh and clicking like the sound of giant insects, but it spoke perfect English and every other human language. Humans of Earth, the Chromath message began. Your protectors have failed. Your defenses are broken. Surrender now, and some of you will be allowed to live as workers in our expansion fleet. Resist and your species will be consumed entirely. You have 12 of your hours to decide. The message ended, leaving behind only silence and the image of the approaching bioships on every screen on Earth. In his command center, General Kang looked around at his officers. Commander Yunari was checking final preparations. Admiral Park So-jin was coordinating with hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. Dr. Shin Woo-jin was running last-minute tests on weapons that didn't officially exist. Well, General Kang said quietly, I think it's time to show them what Earth is really capable of. He pressed a single button on his console. Around the world, the same button was being pressed in dozens of hidden facilities. Across the solar system, systems that had been disguised as mining equipment, research stations, and communication relays began to power up. Above Earth, Ambassador Thylex detected massive energy signatures appearing all around the planet. The aliens' communication systems were suddenly filled with readings that made no sense. Human technology that should not have existed was coming online everywhere. What? Thylex started to say, but the words were cut off as Captain Kim Min-ho's voice came over the Valthani communication network. This is Earth Defense Command to all Valthani vessels, Kim announced in a voice that was no longer respectful or grateful. Move to secondary positions and prepare to observe. We'll take it from here. The Chromath fleet was still 6 hours away from Earth when the first human ship uncloaked directly in front of them. It was sleek and dark, covered in armor that seemed to bend light around it. The bioships immediately began scanning it. But their sensors found something they had never encountered before. The human vessel was smaller than any of the Chromath ships, but the energy readings coming from it were impossible. How could such a small ship generate so much power? Then 1,000 more ships just like it appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the entire Chromath fleet in a perfect sphere of death. The real war was about to begin. The first shot came from nowhere and everywhere at once. The largest Chromath bioship, the one that had been leading the swarm toward Earth, suddenly shuddered as something invisible tore through its living armor. The creature vessel screamed, a sound that somehow carried through space and made every sensor in the solar system ring with feedback. Direct hit on primary target, Captain Kim Min-ho reported from the bridge of the human flagship Defiance. Ghost torpedoes are working exactly as designed. The Chromath had never faced weapons they couldn't see or sense. Dr. Shin Woo-jin's Ghostmaker cloaking technology didn't just hide ships from view. It made them invisible to every type of sensor the Chromath used, including the biological senses built into their living vessels. Admiral Park So-jin coordinated the attack from Luna Base, watching as Earth's real fleet revealed itself piece by piece. For 8 months, humans had been building weapons in secret. Not just any weapons, but systems specifically designed to counter everything they had learned about both the Valthani and their enemies. Launch. "The Reapers," she commanded. From hidden bays carved into asteroids and disguised mining stations, millions of small objects shot out into space. They looked like metal insects, each one no bigger than a human hand. The chromath sensors detected them immediately and began targeting them with living lightning weapons. But Major Song Hee-jin had designed the Reaper drones to be more than just weapons. They were learning machines, each one connected to all the others through quantum communication links. When the chromath destroyed the first wave, the second wave already knew how to avoid those attacks. When they destroyed the second wave, the third had evolved new defenses. "The drones are adapting faster than the bioships can," Major Song reported with satisfaction. "Every Reaper that gets destroyed teaches all the others how to survive." Within minutes, the space around the chromath fleet was filled with millions of tiny killers that learned from every mistake and shared every lesson instantly. The bioships found themselves facing an enemy that evolved faster than they could adapt. But the chromath were not defenseless. The alien swarm began to change formation, their ships growing new weapons and armor as they fought. Some of the biovessels merged together, becoming larger and more dangerous. Others split apart, creating more targets than the human weapons could handle. That's when General Kang activated the second phase of Project Grin. "Bring online the planetary defense grid," he ordered. Around Earth, the Moon and Mars installations that had been disguised as communication towers and research stations revealed their true purpose. Massive energy cannons rose from hidden bunkers. Missile systems that had been built in secret deep underground opened fire across impossible distances. The weapons weren't just copies of Veltani technology. Human engineers had taken everything they learned and made it better. Where the aliens used elegant energy streams, humans used focused quantum beams that could punch through any armor. Where the aliens fired single projectiles, humans launched smart missiles that could think and adapt on their own. Commander Yoon Nari watched from the command center as Earth's hidden defenses lit up space with deadly fire. "All planetary batteries report full operational status," she announced. Targeting solutions locked on all chromath vessels. The bioships tried to retreat, but they found their escape routes blocked. Captain Lim Dong-woo had been using his monitoring station to track their movement patterns for hours. And human tactical computers had predicted every possible escape attempt. "Trap pattern activated," Captain Lim reported. "Enemy fleet is completely surrounded. No escape vectors available." The chromath tried their lightning weapons against the planetary defenses, but Lieutenant Colonel Bae Yun-young had prepared for that. Every human installation was protected by shields based on Veltani technology, but improved with human innovations. The bioships' attacks were absorbed and redirected back at them with double the power. "Energy reflection at 200% efficiency," she reported. "They're literally powering our weapons for us." But the most devastating surprise was still coming. Dr. Oh Sung-ho had spent months studying the wreckage. From the first chromath encounters with other species, he had learned something that even the Velthani didn't know about their enemies, initiating biodisruption. "Protocol," he announced from his secret laboratory. The bioships suddenly began to convulse and twist in space. Their living hulls started to crack and split. The weapons that grew from their bodies withered and died. The chromath vessels were being attacked by something they had never encountered before. A virus designed specifically for their biological technology. How is this possible? The chromath command transmission was filled with confusion and growing fear. "Your species should not have weapons like these. You are supposed to be primitive," Captain Kim Min-ho responded over an open channel that every ship in the solar system could hear. "We had very good teachers. Your friends the Velthani spent 8 months showing us their technology. They told us all about you. They gave us everything we needed to prepare for this moment." From their defensive positions around Earth's moon, the surviving Velthani ships watched in stunned silence as humanity systematically destroyed the most dangerous fleet they had ever encountered. Ambassador Thylex tried to contact the human command center, but received only a polite message asking them to stay back for their own safety. The battle lasted only 3 hours. When it was over, the chromath swarm was completely destroyed. Some of the bioships had been reduced to floating debris. Others had been captured intact by human tractor beams for study. A few had tried to self-destruct, but even that had been prevented by human technology that could disrupt their biological control systems. Final count. Admiral Park Seo-jin announced to the hidden network of Earth's defenders. 67 chromath vessels eliminated. 0 human casualties. all objectives achieved. But the victory was not what surprised the Valtani most. It was the scale of what humans had built in secret. As the battle ended, more and more human ships uncloaked throughout the solar system. There were thousands of them, built in hidden shipyards that the aliens had never detected. Earth had not just prepared to defend itself. It had built a fleet capable of taking the war to its enemies wherever they might be hiding. General Kang opened a communication channel to Ambassador Thylex. "We appreciate everything you taught us about galactic threats," he said with that same quiet smile that had started this all 8 months ago. "Your protection was very educational. How?" Thylex's voice was barely a whisper. "How did you build all of this without us knowing? How did you develop these weapons? How did you learn to fight like this?" Colonel Park Gina answered from her command post in Seoul. "You told us we were too primitive to handle dangerous technology. You said we needed to be guided and protected. You assumed we would never think to question our protectors or prepare for threats you didn't tell us about." Dr. Shin Woo-jin added his own explanation. "You made the mistake of thinking that being primitive meant being stupid. We may have been behind you in technology, but we've been fighting wars and preparing for threats for our entire history. We know how to learn from our enemies and adapt their weapons to our own needs." Major Song Hye-jin delivered the final point. "You protected us from external threats, but you never considered that the biggest threat to your enemies might be the species you were trying to keep weak." As the last Chromath wreckage was collected by human salvage ships, Ambassador Thylex finally understood what had really happened. The humans had never needed protection from the threats in space. They had needed protection from themselves, from their own dangerous potential. But by trying to limit humanity's development, the Valthani had only taught them to be more creative, more secretive, and more determined than ever. They had turned Earth into exactly the kind of threat they had been trying to prevent, and now it was too late to stop them. Space around Earth filled with human ships as fleets emerged from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Each vessel was a masterpiece of adapted alien technology improved by human innovation and human determination. They moved in perfect formation, their crews trained by 8 months of careful preparation for this exact moment. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you underestimated humanity. The meeting took place aboard humanity's new flagship, the Seoul Dawn, 3 days after the destruction of the Chromath fleet. Admiral Bae Yoon-young commanded the massive vessel, which had been built in secret over the past 8 months in a hidden shipyard on the far side of the moon. Ambassador Thylex arrived in a small shuttle, escorted by 2 human fighters. The alien's usual glowing confidence had dimmed considerably. Its multiple eyes darted nervously around the shuttle bay as it was met by Captain Kim Min-ho and an honor guard of human soldiers. "Ambassador," Captain Kim said politely, "welcome aboard. General Kang is waiting for you in the conference room." The walk through the ship's corridors was a revelation for Thylex. The Seoul Dawn was not just advanced, it was beyond anything in the Valthani fleet. The walls seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. The lighting adapted automatically to each person's needs. The very air hummed with power from energy systems the alien couldn't identify. "How long have you been building ships like this?" Thylex asked quietly. 8 months, Captain Kim replied with a small smile. "Same as everything else." The conference room was simple but elegant, with a large table surrounded by chairs designed for different species. General Kang Dae-ho sat at the head of the table, flanked by Commander Yoon Nari and Dr. Lee Byung-ho. Director Choi Jae-sung participated by hologram from Earth, along with military leaders from every major human nation. Ambassador Thylex took the offered seat, noting that it automatically adjusted to fit the alien's taller frame perfectly. Even the furniture on this ship was more advanced than Valthani technology. "We need to discuss the new situation," General Kang began without preamble. "The Chromath threat has been eliminated from this sector. Your fleet suffered heavy losses, and Earth's position in the galaxy has changed significantly." Thylex's skin flickered with patterns that showed distress. "Your species has developed capabilities far beyond what we thought possible. We underestimated your potential for growth and adaptation." Dr. Lee Byung-ho leaned forward. "You didn't underestimate us. You tried to control us. There's a difference." "Our analysis of your protection protocols shows clear patterns," Commander Yoon added, displaying holographic data in the air above the table. "Every species in your protectorate has been systematically prevented from developing military technology, space travel improvements, and advanced artificial intelligence. You weren't protecting them from external threats. You were preventing them from becoming threats themselves. Ambassador Thylex was silent for a long moment, its large eyes studying the humans around the table. Finally, it spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. Yes, the simple admission hung in the air. General Kang nodded slowly. Tell us why. Because we were afraid, Thylex said, its composure finally cracking completely. The Valthani were once like you. Young, aggressive, rapidly advancing. We developed weapons that could destroy stars. We built fleets that could conquer galaxies. We were becoming the greatest threat the universe had ever seen. The alien paused, its skin dimming even further. Then we encountered the Corvani Empire. They were older, more advanced, and absolutely ruthless. They destroyed our homeworld and enslaved half our species in a single day. The survivors were scattered across the galaxy, refugees with advanced technology but no home. Director Choi's hologram spoke up. So you decided to prevent other species from making the same mistakes. We found worlds with young species showing rapid advancement, Thylex continued. We offered them protection, guidance, and limited technology. We told ourselves we were helping them avoid the disasters that befell us. But the truth is we were preventing them from ever becoming strong enough to threaten us or anyone else. Colonel Park Jinna joined the conversation from her base on Earth. 43 worlds accepted your protection. How many refused? Thylex hesitated again. 16 refused initially. 12 of those worlds were destroyed by various threats before they could develop adequate defenses. 4 survived and eventually requested our protection after significant losses. And how many species have developed beyond your control? Admiral Park So-jin asked from Luna Base. Until today, Thylex replied quietly. None. Dr. Oh Sung-ho's voice came through the communication system from his laboratory. Your entire empire is built on keeping everyone else weak. You're not protectors. You're shepherds, keeping the flock safe by making sure they never grow into wolves. The room fell silent as the full implications sank in. The Valthani Protectorate wasn't an alliance of equals. It was a carefully managed collection of species kept deliberately weak and dependent. General Kang broke the silence. That system ends now. Thylex looked up sharply. What do you mean? Earth will provide protection for the Valthani territories, General Kang announced. In return, we want complete technological cooperation, honest intelligence about galactic threats, and full autonomy for all species currently under your protection. You want to replace us, Thylex said, understanding dawning in its multiple eyes. No, Commander Yoon corrected. We want to free everyone, including you. Your people have been so focused on controlling others that you've stopped advancing yourselves. When was the last time the Valthani developed new technology instead of just maintaining what you already had? Thylex thought for a moment and realized the answer was disturbing. Nearly 300 years. Dr. Shin Woo-jin's voice joined from his secret laboratory. That's what happens when you prioritize control over growth. You stop learning, stop adapting, stop becoming better. You become exactly what you were afraid of other species becoming. Stagnant and vulnerable. Over the next several hours, the terms of the new arrangement were discussed. Earth would take responsibility for defending the territories currently under Valthani protection. The human fleet would hunt down the remaining Chromath forces and any other threats in the region. In return, all 43 protected worlds would be given the choice to govern themselves independently. Some may choose to remain under protection, General Kang acknowledged. But it will be their choice, not a decision made for them. And the Valthani? Thylex asked. You'll be our partners, not our subjects, Admiral Bae Yoon-young said from the ship's bridge. We'll share our technology with you just as freely as you'll share yours with us. But no more managing anyone's development. No more deciding what species are ready for which technologies. Major Song Hye-jin added her perspective from the Weapons Development Center. The galaxy is too dangerous for artificial limitations. Every species needs the right to develop their full potential, even if that potential is scary. 3 weeks later, Captain Lim Dong-woo watched from his monitoring station as the new reality took shape across the solar system. Human ships patrolled beyond Pluto, hunting the scattered remnants of the Chromath fleet. Former Valthani Protectorate worlds were sending delegations to Earth, some requesting continued protection, others demanding full independence and access to advanced technology. The galaxy's power balance had shifted completely in less than a month. Ambassador Thylex, now serving as the Valtani liaison to the new Earth Defense Alliance, stood beside Captain Lim as they observed a joint training exercise between human and alien crews. "Do you regret it?" Thylex asked quietly. "Taking on the responsibility for protecting so many worlds?" Captain Lim considered the question. "We didn't take on the responsibility. We always had it. Every species that can defend itself has the responsibility to defend those who can't. The difference is, we're not going to prevent them from eventually defending themselves." On the main screen, they watched as a mixed fleet of human and Valthani ships practiced coordinated maneuvers with vessels from 12 different species. It was chaotic and imperfect, but it was real cooperation between equals. "Your species is very different from ours," Thylex observed. "Yes," Captain Lim agreed. "We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. So we learned early that the best way to avoid war is to make sure everyone is strong enough to defend themselves and smart enough to choose cooperation over conflict." Commander Yoon Nari's final report, filed 6 months after first contact, summarized the situation perfectly. The Valtani promised to protect Earth from external threats. They never realized that Earth's greatest protection was its own potential. By trying to limit that potential, they only ensured that when it was finally unleashed, nothing in the galaxy would be ready for it. Dr. Lee Byung-ho's research notes, now being studied by xenobiologists throughout the former protectorate, included his most important observation. The greatest danger to any species is not external threats or internal conflicts. It's the temptation to believe that safety comes from remaining weak. True safety comes from becoming strong enough that no one wants to fight you, and wise enough that you don't want to fight anyone else. The final entry in Earth's diplomatic records came from General Kang himself. "The aliens promised to protect us. They kept that promise in the only way that really mattered. They taught us that we didn't need protection. We needed preparation, and now we're ready for whatever comes next." High above Earth, the new ships of humanity's defense fleet carried a simple emblem, a small, knowing smile that had become the symbol of Earth's approach to galactic diplomacy. It reminded everyone who saw it that sometimes,